Hey everybody, so we are back. I know it's been a minute, but we are back, and I have my super producer with me today.
Yeah. Just doing the darn thing.
Just doing it.
Three times a day.
Come on. So we are here today because probably about 2 months ago, maybe 3, I asked for you all to send questions into the What's Your Love Story email.
Yeah.
And some of y'all came through. So now we are here. So Carlin's going to ask me a question, and I'm going to try my best to answer it.
Yeah, you better answer all of it. And we'll have some dialogue.
Yeah, we'll do some dialogue. So
why is this folded so many times?
It's stapled.
Okay, that makes sense. No, it doesn't. All right. First question. Excuse me, I'm talking to my mic. My producer is not in me right now.
Ooh.
How important is it that your significant other loves all genres of music?
Oh, now listen. Now, you know how important that is.
Don't I know it?
Growing up in a family that listened to music, I was just thinking about that. Just listening to music, on Saturdays when you wake up to Pine Sol.
Yes.
Gospel music playing.
That's the warning shot right there.
That is to let you know. So that's how some days would get started. But it is very, very, very important that my significant other, or who I, choose to date, marry, all of that, loves music. That is so important because, we got to have car concerts. We got to, break out in song when you say a specific word. And I just break out in song. And, so that is super, super, super important for that. So, yeah.
And so when it comes down to the harmonics,
well,
how important is that? say old buddy can't hold a note to save his life.
But, there are moments that I can't always get that harmonization going either. Wow. So then we'll just make it fun and it will just sound a hot mess with each other. But see, the thing is that we're with each other sounding a hot mess.
That's all that matters. That's all that matters. Tammy tells me all the time, I wish I could sing. I said, you're singing right now. She said, but I can't sing good. I was like, so it's just us.
It's just us.
I'm like, let them verbs, nouns, and adjectives come on out.
It's all about a good time.
It is. And it's just us in the car most times. So anyway, back to the question.
We ain't having no concert.
Now, Lord knows, I have my concert by myself.
You know what I mean?
It's a sing-along when it's me and Tammy.
Exactly.
What important things should men know when dating a single mom?
I think the most important thing is that there are going to be times when you're not necessarily available. Because, and then that depends on the age of the child or children, too.
That's true. Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, so I have an 18 and 22-year-olds. So chances are, if you're dating me, then it's not that I'm going to have to, my son has, a school project, or most of what I guess the point that I'm getting at is that, the 18-year-old is at a point where he can do things on his own.
Right.
Now, of course, if there's a football game or if there's a, something he's doing at school, then of course I'll be at that. But, I think it's just as far as that, you got to make sure, depending on the age of the children, you have to make sure that, you have to know going in that time may not always be on your side. But of course, you'll make time, but just know that at that time, during the dating time, the child is important.
Yeah. I
important.
Want to chime in on that. So when I was a single dad and dating, I ran into a lot of issues where women didn't like the fact, one, that I was a single dad.
They didn't like it?
They didn't like it. There was several that didn't like it.
That's
Two,
crazy.
Oh, they didn't like it because they weren't the focal
they
point.
They weren't first.
They weren't first. So, and I had no problem saying it, but then when it's time to prove it, I had no problem proving it. Because for those that don't know, I am the dad
of all dads.
I'm a very hands-on dad.
He is that dad.
Yes, I am. And I don't apologize.
No joke.
I don't apologize. My youngest is 20, and I'm still in every last one of their lives. Like what you doing today?
That's it.
I had a couple that didn't like the fact that I was a single dad.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah, it really
it's
is.
retarded.
It really
because
is.
It's to me, and I don't mean to cut you off.
No,
but to me, it's very important. I love to see men with their children, especially the younger children.
Yeah.
I absolutely love to see that because it just shows me, and even if it's just for a show, at that moment you look great.
Yeah.
With your child. So, but yeah, I'm sorry. Continue.
No, you're fine. So the other ones kind of grew to the point where they saw that my focal point wasn't them, and they respected it,
Right.
and gracefully bowed out.
Okay.
You know what I'm
Okay, I
saying?
got you.
They respected it, but then there were some that did have. 'Cause I actually, shockingly enough, I found a few women that were single that didn't have children.
Oh, okay.
And
okay.
those, it's kind of like 50-50. You know, if I can't be the first, and then don't worry about it. But then there's some that'll be like, well, I like you.
Yeah.
You know, where the kids at again? So, but yeah, so it was strange.
Yeah.
It was definitely it was a struggle.
Yeah.
Because, you do have some of those women that just didn't appreciate it. And then, then you had the rest of them, you had the rest of them that didn't believe that I was a single dad and how many baby mamas you got. You know what I'm saying?
You got 4 kids, you got to have 4 baby mamas.
4 baby mamas, you got to have 4 baby. How many baby mamas you got? Like, y'all cool? And then when I would tell them, I was like, at the time, me and Shamika, my ex-wife, Shamika, were cool. We were kind of in the middle somewhere. And we're crazy. We're dope now.
Yeah.
But before, it was like a middle. We weren't at each other's throat, but we weren't cool either. It was right in the middle. And I was like, no, we're cool. And then they start fading off. It's like, you got a baby mama and you like her?
You cool with her.
Nah. Y'all are cool with each other.
Yeah.
And y'all got kids together. And you got cut. They was like, nah. What's the youngest one? How old was the youngest one? I'm like, I tell them the age at the time. And they were like,
she is fresh.
Nah, yeah. Like, he's not an infant. I didn't just cut his umbilical cord and come find you, Anyway, back to these questions.
Yes, back to the questions. Let's go.
I can ramble. Sorry.
It's all good.
When did you know you finally moved on from your divorce?
Wow.
I got one for that one.
Jesus. Okay, so it took me a minute. I was just amazing how I just had this conversation with someone about once I got divorced and how hard it was to even get to that place. So me and my ex separated in 18, but I didn't get the divorce until 20. So during 18 to 20 was a struggle. Okay.
I got you.
Yeah. So even after the divorce, it was still a struggle. So, and I'll be honest with my question. With my answer, because, wow. Okay. So once I actually, and I'll get a little spiritual for a moment. Once I actually gave the situation to the Lord, because I was bitter. I was angry. I was pissed.
Easily do. Easily
so
do.
Once I actually gave it to him, and then, like I like to say, didn't go take it back.
Yeah.
I actually literally gave it to him. Things started, feeling better. Like, I started feeling better.
Yeah.
So once I did that and gave it to him, and then didn't go take it back, because, you go take it back because you thought of something.
Of course.
And it's like, that's son of a, you go and take it back. But this time I asked to take it.
Yeah.
But then, even with that, you still have to do your part. You still have to do your work.
True.
So then with that, I decided, okay, I'll reach out just to check in, because there was
with him.
Yeah.
Nice.
And so what I ended up doing, because I didn't know any other way of staying past it.
Yeah.
You know how to get past the situation, but to stay past the situation.
Yeah.
So sorry, guys. Pick up my son. I forgot. But anyway, so to stay past that. So how I stayed past it was, I said, you know what, I'll reach out, because there was a few incidences that happened. And I was like, okay, I know that can mess with somebody's mental, because there was a incident at his job where someone was shot and killed.
Oh, wow.
And he saw the body and saw them trying to resuscitate.
Yeah.
And the person passed away. So I know for me, that would just mess me up. So I called to check on him.
Yeah.
And, so that, I know that was shocking. But anyway, then there were other instances where I was just calling, not to call and just be like, hey, what's up? What you doing?
Yeah,
no, there were instances as to why, which I think that kind of happened that way so that I could still try to transition and not be as bitter.
That makes sense.
So once I was able to do those things, sorry for the stories, but once I was able to do those things, I knew that I was past it, and we're cool now.
Yeah.
So
no, that's
there's
that.
That's
all right. That's amazing. My story is not so spiritual. Spirituality came much later. I knew. Okay, so mine. It took me 2 years.
Okay.
To get to the point where I can say that I could think about her, not get emotional, sad, hurt, the heart flutters and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It took 2 years to get beyond that point.
Yeah.
On the way to that point, there was a lot of destructive patterns. Now, don't get me wrong, I didn't go out drinking, I ain't do drugs, I ain't hit and run on nobody. It was just like internal. You know what I'm saying? I'm not good enough. Look at what happened. Hey. You walked out on your kids because when we separated, when we separated, I couldn't stay around her. Like,
okay.
we literally lived in the same circle and worked in the same circle. So it was too much. I had to leave. So I relocated. Story. So I relocated and came back and got my kids that same summer when I relocated. Took them back. When school started. So that was the heartbreaker because they were, it was such a jar to them, it was such a hit to them. So anyway, so 2 years after that, so off track. Anyway, so 2 years after that, I was realizing that I was able to, kind of see the sun. It sounds kind of corny and cliche, but I was actually able to see the sun again. And I was like, man, I just looked up and, oh, man, this is dope. I'm actually single. Like, I'm single.
With kids,
but I'm single.
Yeah.
And at the time, my kids were living with her. It was before I got custody of them. And I just started looking around, started walking. I didn't have a car, so I walked everywhere. So then, I got past the doubt of myself for the divorce and then got back to doubt like what I don't have as a single man in my 30s at the time. I was like, man, this is ridiculous. I went from one to the other. You know what I'm saying? So, but once I realized I was over because this young lady, I won't throw names, this one particular young lady showed interest in me. And I was kind of looking at her like, you're not her. The way you talk, walk, act, you're 180 from her. And I had to if I wanted to continue down that road with her, I had to at least be honest and tell her.
Yeah.
And I was, and I didn't say it that way. I just basically told her that, I'm not looking for anything serious. I'm just, if what you want to go down goes down, it's just that.
Yeah.
That's all it is. And there were times in the past that couldn't happen because of my emotional state. And I took it as a strike on my manhood, but then the young lady took it as a strike that she wasn't attractive.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's got nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
Legitimately, it's all me. Like, legitimately all
Yeah.
me. But when I saw that would be able to happen, I was like, hello, darkness, my old friend. It was bad.
I'm weak.
It was bad.
Well,
so
okay.
That's how I knew I got over it.
Well, all right
And
then.
some people say, how do you get rid of a hangover? You take another drink. I'll let you bridge that one. So anyway, yeah, it wasn't. I'm not proud of it. And at the end of my buffoonery, I did headbutt religion. I did headbutt Christ, and it was still a struggle. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, it's definitely.
It was still a struggle, but I was able to find my path.
Yeah.
One talked to me on a random day you wouldn't think, but
I say this just because you decide to, accept the Lord Jesus Christ in your heart does not mean everything becomes easy.
No, it doesn't.
To me, it becomes harder.
It actually got harder.
Yeah,
it really did. It got way more difficult.
Yeah, because you start putting that stuff on you, see how much you can bear.
Yeah, and trust me, it wasn't a lot.
So I'm just saying.
It wasn't a lot at all.
I'm just saying.
He's like, here's a toothpick. I'm done, Lord. I'm sorry.
Not a toothpick. Weak.
All right. Anyway, so what advice would you give a person on handling the transition from marriage to divorce with children?
Okay, so that to me is a pretty simple question because I was there. So what I had to do, I had to realize that even though I was hurt, sad, bitter, mad, pissed, I still had two people I had to take care of, so that means you still have to go to work. You still have to live. You still have to. And that was very hard because I work at a hair salon. So when you come in, I'm who you see.
Yeah.
So I didn't have time for crying. I didn't have time for being sad,
Yeah.
Even though I clearly was. Luckily, my boss was awesome.
Yeah.
She understood, but she's not and it's funny, we just had this conversation too. She's not the huggy the huggy type. She's not one to come over and hold your hand and hug on you. It's like, okay, now what you gonna do?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And you need somebody like that.
Yeah, no doubt. Shout out Leola.
And because we say all the time, if you want a hug, go to Phaedra. You know,
I mean, that's accurate.
Phaedra's gonna hug you.
Yeah.
Phaedra's gonna, talk you through it. If you want to know what your next step could be and how to get to it, come to me. And that's what I tell people. Don't go to her for a hug because she's not gonna give it to you.
Yeah.
I mean, she'll give it to you, but she ain't gonna, like me, I'm a hug and hold.
Yeah.
Because I know.
Yeah. You give mom hugs though. Mom hug you. Let me tell you about Phaedra's hugs. Phaedra will hug you and you got some stuff back here on your mind, and Phaedra's hug will be like snatch right to the front of your face, and you be like, gotta buy her a new shirt. You don't cry, snot and drool on her shoulder.
It's all good though. But I'm just saying, we're huggers.
No doubt.
We're huggers,
No doubt.
know, and so, I mean, you too have that effect.
I got long arms for a reason.
Yeah, so, and then, you wrap around and then they wrap around.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but back to the question. So I think you have to know that you have to take care of them. So you don't, and you have your moments of crying at night in your bed.
Yes.
You know, when you're by yourself.
Yeah.
And even though I had moments where I cried, of course, in front of them, but it wasn't intentional. It just, just kind of happened and you couldn't stop it.
Yeah. I think it's important though.
Yeah. And it was very important that they saw, the hurt sometimes, not all the time.
I get you.
But it was definitely a struggle. But then also with that, you allow yourself to go through all of your emotions. I am a stickler for that. Allow yourself to go through every emotion.
I agree.
Sad,
100%.
mad, crying, because it's a process. It's a
is.
grieving process because you lost someone you were with.
Yeah.
You didn't think that you were going to get a divorce, even through the, all the times that the not so great times with, me and my ex. I still wasn't leaning towards divorce.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
So you just have to allow yourself to go through all of that. And so, and then you just have to start trying to your best to get past it.
Yeah.
That's and
tough.
It can be tough though,
because
you're looking at these people, these little people, or, not so little people, but your children.
Yeah.
And you have to try to still be strong for them, cause my son was very, he was, very emotional. Even though both of them took it hard. Yeah. The oldest was mad and the youngest was sad. Mm-hmm. So then you got to try to deal with
figuring that out.
Yeah. And so you got to try to, handle both of those emotions along with trying to handle you being mad
your
and sad.
Own emotions.
So, and it's tough, but I didn't have a book that said, well, this is what you do and this and this and that. I didn't have that.
Yeah.
So I just had to do it. But luckily, and another thing, the last thing is to have a great support system.
Oh, amen to that.
So luckily I had one, like you and just like my boss, like you, even though you'll come with, those words, those zingers, you also came with the, all right, get up. You got, look, all right now, you came with that.
Yeah.
Mom was more of the nurturer.
Yeah. Mom would listen all day long.
Yeah. She was the nurturer. But then if I said something out of pocket, like I think one particular time I said, I just pray that the Lord gets him. Get him. And she was like, now, Phaedra, you can't say that.
Yeah.
And so then it's like, okay. Fine. Fine, great. But and then Fenice, of course, she's that in between.
She is, because she's like,
in between. Exactly. Pretty much, So I had a great support system, and even his mom, was good.
That was dope.
Yeah.
That was dope. I always thought that was an amazing, that dynamic there was amazing. I like that.
Yeah, she is awesome. And so I didn't keep, the kids from her, because that's easy to do.
Yeah.
So I didn't do that. I think some weekends, Brian, my son, would go over there and stay, because I didn't keep him from his dad.
Yeah.
I didn't keep Imani from him, even though she at the time, didn't want to be around him.
Yeah.
But I didn't say to them, you can't go see him, you know, or you can't talk about him or whatever. So I didn't do that, because that turned to me that backfires.
It does.
Because in the end, then they could be mad with me.
Yep.
You know, because I kept them from him. And so I do remember one time doing that, but that was because Brian said he didn't want to see him or talk to him. That was the only time.
Sometimes you got to intervene. That makes sense. I don't really have like any advice as far as transitioning with children, because mine was different. It was rocky. And I think I did my part to I don't know. I think I could have done more to make it smoother.
Okay.
But you know what I'm saying? But
for the kids or
for the children in general. You know what I'm saying? I think I could have definitely done it better. And even with me and Shamika separating, I think that even in that, I could have done more to make it smoother.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Looking back, you know, hindsight 2020, so you always reflect, right?
Right.
But so I don't really have a lot to say on that one.
Yeah.
The only thing that I will say is how important it is that regardless of how good or bad the relationship is, that you all got to see past your own emotional like hangups and recognize that
that is a fact.
The children are the most important thing at this point,
that is
or
a
the
fact.
child, you know, however it works out,
right.
is the most important thing at this point. Now, I will say that there were a lot of bumpy patches with me and Shamika, but for the most part, looking back, there were a lot of times that we could come to an agreement. Like you said, we never kept the kids away from each other. In the early days, it was rough, in that manner, but she never kept them away from me. I never kept them away from her. So that's the one thing we agreed on. Kind of like soon after our anger fizzled a little bit. We were still upset with each other, but kind of fizzled down a little bit. So, but beyond that, we just. I see it all the time. It goes to like the child support thing, and the guy saying the woman is spending money on everything, and then the woman saying the guy ain't giving enough, and it's all hurt. That's all it is. It's just hurt.
Definitely.
You know what I'm saying? So if we can, if there is a way to get past that hurt, any way that you can, to say, okay, listen, the kids ain't got nothing to do with this. Now, you know what I'm saying? That's me and you. Let's come together and let's, you know what I'm saying? And the other thing is that maturity levels. Like there's a lot of young people having babies. And they're mentally not prepared to have this child. First of all, they're physically able, but they're mentally unable. And then they have the children, and then they're immature in the way that they think. And now you got this child stuck in the middle. And the mom or the dad is talking junk about the mom or the dad. You know what I'm saying? And then that child is a sponge anyway, and they just absorb all of that stuff.
That is a fact.
So that's... I'll get on my soapbox. I'm done. So do you believe once a cheater, always a cheater, and why?
Ooh, wow, that's a great question.
I got something for you.
Well, okay. So if we're gonna say spiritually, you know, go spiritual, I think anybody can change.
Of course.
I think anybody can change. But I think initially your mindset is, and I think the situations that I've been in, it was always cheating. So
I get it. I understand.
So yeah. So but I think that's kind of hard. I think yes and no. Okay. I don't know if that's an appropriate answer. So I guess depending on the person, if they want to change.
Okay. So,
but since the question is directed towards me, asking me, that's a hard question. So I will say, because my answer is only going on my experiences. So I think I need to stop thinking of my experiences. So I'll say no.
Okay.
I'll say no.
Okay.
I'll say no on